So we are preparing the stream for us to go live. Please kindly exercise patience. So we are preparing the stream for us to go live. So, thank you all for your patience. We are good to go now. My name is Wali Adegoke, and we are handling the program for today in collaboration with my colleague, Abdulhakim Mukhtar, who will be moderating the section all through today. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for choosing to be part of this training. It's promisingly going to be another yet interesting section organized by Safety Aliullah, sponsored by Cordal Safety Consult for all your safety needs, safety training, safety consultancy. We are always there for you. So going straight into the business of today, Mr. Abdulhakim Mukhtar, please kindly unmute yourself and introduce yourself, then introduce the speaker, and let us go ahead with this section. Thank you and God bless you.
Yeah, thank you so much, my very good friend. I am very grateful for giving me this privilege to anchor today's program once again. My name is Mukhtar Hakim Ayodeji. So in today's section, we are bringing one of our experts, our professor, who has several years of experience as a safety professional and working with the Federal Ministry of Labor, in person of Engineer Kabir Kosoko, as we'll be taking us through the National Factory Act, which is one of the policy I believe most of we, the HSC officers and experts in Nigeria, supposed to know offhand without even carrying the national policy around, just like the way some of us know our Bible verses and our Quran quotes. So with the look of things, without much ado, so I would like to introduce Engineer Kabir Kosoko for him to take us through the journey of the National Factory Act of Nigeria. Thank you so much, Mr. Kabir Kosoko, for creating time for us. And you have the floor now, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mukhtar.
You're welcome, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Oh, okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
I'm Engineer. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Please, can you hear me? If you can hear me, just tell me you can.
We can hear you loud and clear, sir.
We can hear you, sir.
Yes, sir. We can hear you loud and clear. Good evening, sir.
We can hear you. Good evening, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening. Can you please unmute yourself? I'm Engineer Kosoko Kabir Kolawole. I will be taking you through the journey of. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. I'll be taking you through this journey. Thank you very much for having me here once again, Mr. Waliu Adegoke. Thank you. Okay, let me share my slides now. Hello? Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can see your slides, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are you there, Engineer Kosoko? I'm the only one who can't hear you clearly.
Yeah. Hello? Can you see my slides?
Yes, you can see your slides, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm Engineer Kabir Kosoko. Presently, spent total of factory. By another 1 month, assistant chief instead of batch by God grace, I will be taking you through this journey of Factories Act 2004. Occupational safety and health, as we all know, is just a way of preventing and protecting and promoting worker safety. Every one of us will leave our home, we want to go to work. We want to go to work, we are not sure of what is happening. And what Occupational Safety Net have done is to constitute a legal backbone for the protection of occupational safety and accident in workplaces. Yeah, let us go through the historic background of how occupational safety comes into play or occupational safety laws. So began in Europe with the British precisely in the early 18th century. After that, Moral Apprentice Act of 1802 was the first milestone. There was the parallel, of course, in other European nations like Germany, France, and some other European countries, whereby they believe that the safety, the life and the safety of workers is of utmost paramount. Now, the existing legal, let me go through the existing legal instruments in Nigeria. We have a lot of existing legal instruments in Nigeria as regards the occupational safety and health. I will be particularly about occupational safety and health as regards to those of Federation of Countries as regards to Factories Act 2004. The Factories Act 2004 is only domiciled with Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. And the Factories Act of Nigeria is the principal legislative tools in Nigeria for the regulating and regulating conditions under which work is carried out in Nigeria, thus providing the legal break and the backbone of how to prevent diseases, occupational safety and health in our various places of work. This act, law, federal, like I said in the introduction, when you talk about safety, occupational safety and health, and you talk about Factories Act, it is always very good for us to understand what a factory is. Sometimes a lot of us we look at it as okay, a factory. I my own training, mechanical engineer by profession. A lot of people believe that when you say a factory means a place where you do productions. It goes beyond that. If you go to section 87 of this Factories Act, it is a concise meaning or definition of what factories is all about. So I will be taking through this journey, but let me just use the simplest term here now. The factory.
Yes, Engineer Kosoko, please can you make your voice better? Your voice is somehow fading. Maybe you are using an earpiece or something. Can you make your voice clearer, sir? The earpiece isn't making it. We can't hear you. It's like we are far away from the system. We can't hear you clearly. We can't hear you at all now.
Oh, okay. I'm coming. Is it better now?
It's still the same thing, sir. Yes, sir. You are far away from. I'm trying to hear you, to hear your words.
Can you hear me now?
Much better now. Very clear now.
Yes. Much better now. Loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Loud and clear, sir.
Exactly. Loud and clear.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, like I said the other time, I'll be talking about when you say Factories Act 2004. A Factories Act, we need to know what a factory is. So some, like I said, by my own training, I understand what a factory is. But a lot of people don't understand what a factory is. A lot of people believe the general thing about a factory is a place whereby you make, yes, you produce conventionaries, biochemicals, petrochemicals. It goes beyond that. It goes beyond that. It goes beyond, like I said, in the Factories Act, when you look at section 87 of it, it gives you a definition of what a factory is all about. Now, let me use this like I have on my slide now. According to the Factory Act, a factory means any premises in which within the close or curtilage or precinct of which one person is or persons are employed in any process for any incidental to any of the following, namely the making of any article to the engineers, to the Factories Act. Doesn't mean that when you have a unit process, you are doing Gary processing now. Gary processing has a lot of unit process. You do cutting of cassava, garifying, drying, and all the rest. It goes beyond that. Well, when you say a process now, because of the fact that we have limited ourselves to what is called a product, most of the time, like engineering now, there are some of them that even goes beyond making a particular product. Anywhere, whereby a steam boiler of any type. But I will be going through it. You'll see what I mean by that now. But let me leave this slide now at this point. For Factories Acts to work, there are other subsidiary regulations. We have other subsidiary regulations of Factories Act. We have the Precise Form Orders of 1956. We have the Factory Sanitation Accommodation Regulation of 1956 and 58. The Factories Act, which comes into existence, like you have seen, it metamorphosed into Declaration of Occupational Disease in 1956, to Dog Sanitary Labor in 1958, Dog Sanitary, these are the subsidiaries of the Factories Act. You find out that if you look at Section 33, Section 34, and if you look at Section 33, Section 34, Section 37, Section 38, which has the lifting equipment in the Factories Act. Now, if you look at this now, that has been expunged. When I get to that, I will explain. When you look at this, if you look at item number 9, 10, 11, 12, I'm sorry, the lifting and allied equipment. Before now, the lifting and allied equipment, it is inside a Factories Act. It is a section of a Factories Act. But now it is just a standalone now, because it has a lot of things for it to be what a standalone regulation. We'll get to that. We have the Boiler and Pressure Vessel Regulation of 2018. We have the Diving Act. All these three that are highlighted, the lifting, the boiler and pressure vessel, and the diving, are part of Factories Act because of the fact that they can stand alone. So they have been passed and been made a regulation in 2018. It means that when you see 2018, it means that it has come it has turned into stay, becomes a law in 2018. We have other relevant. Sorry. Can you see my slide, please?
Yes, we can.
You can?
Yes, we can see it. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you look at this, the Nigerian Constitution also, Section 17, subsection 3C of the Nigerian Constitution of the Federal State, that there shall be direct its policy towards ensuring that the health, safety, and welfare of all persons in the employment are safeguarded and not endangered or abused. So that is to tell you that Nigerian Constitution also backs a good, backs a safe working environment in anywhere that we work in. We have the national law, which is the national law from the Ministry of Environment, is still a subsidiary. Other relevant, it's not a subsidiary, it's a relevant instrument used in Nigeria. The other one that when I say subsidiary, those subsidiary are the one that there is an interwoven between them and the Factories Act. It is either some of them are taken away from Factories Act, or some of them preceded the Factories Act of 2004. Those are one that we call subsidiary regulation. The other acts that we know, of course, for mining, we have the National Fire Safety Code of 2013. We have the Public Act of 1990, and so on and so forth. This is still order. the CAP, the Petroleum Act, of course, like we all know, the Labour Act. Incidentally, Labour Act and Factories Act in 2004, they were reviewed then, but I think there is another review now that has been sent to National Assembly. So for upgrade and review as well, like we have done for the policy, national policy on occupational safety and health, which domicile with Federal Ministry of Labour, which has been passed into law in 2020 for revised, and the revised one has even been out since then. In addition to the existing instrument policies, there are other policies that have been put in place to provide necessary guidelines. The national policy, like I just said, the revised one is out. And now there shouldn't be any stigmatization. You cannot force anybody. You can't force anybody to have a HIV policy, a HIV test. So there won't be any stigmatization and what forcing of people to go for HIV/AIDS. The Factories Act. Now, let's go into the Factories Act. The enforcement and implementation of the Act is statutory responsibility. I think I've explained that in my introductory part of it. Yeah, the Act of Section 49, which empower the Minister of Labour now, Dr. Nwabweze Ngige. Now it gives him the power to do what? The Act empowers the Honorable Minister of Labour and Employment to issue regulations for purposes of securing the safety, health, and welfare of the workers. That is power. That power resides in Section 49 of the Factories Act. Instead of the Factories Act, like I said before now, this is what it is being called. When you look at 1990, the Factories Act was called Chapter D, Chapter 126, Volume 8, Law of Federation of Nigeria, that's LFN, 1990. The latest one that we use now, or the one that is even due for review, is the one that in 2004. The scope, like I said, of course, anytime, even when you are in university, when you are doing your thesis, there must be a scope of work. What is your restriction? From what level to which level are you talking about? An act to provide for the registration, yes, etc. of the factory, to provide for factory workers and a wider spectrum of workers and other professionals exposed to occupational hazard, but for whom no adequate provision has been formally made to make adequate provision regarding the safety, health, and welfare of workers to which the Act applies, and to impose penalty for any breach of its provisions. Like I said, the title of the Act describes its objectives of the word enactment. So the scope, like I said, the factory says, now let's begin to go in what they call a factory. How do you categorize a premises as a factory? The Factory Act applies to those workplaces which fall with its definition, like I said in Section 87, that says any premises where one or more persons are engaged in process of making, altering, repairing, ornamenting, finishing, washing, cleaning, breaking up of them, or demolition, or adapting for sales of any article. Can you see that Factory Act goes beyond production of bonfita? It goes beyond production of rice. It goes beyond the garrifying process of garri making machines. It goes beyond production of drinks and beverages. Sorry. Now, Section 54 No, sorry. Yeah. Again, when 10 or more persons are employed in dry dock, washing or filling of bottles, containers, printing press, engineering workshops, water works, electrical generation station, etc. So if you still need to know more definition about factories, we'll still meet it in the subsequent slides. Now, Section 87 also empowers the minister to exempt the minister in his magnanimity can decide to exempt some certain premises, and it is then specially exclude specific premises, including mines, from the definition word of a factory. The Section 54 states that coverage to premises used or occupied as separate factories, docks, wharves, quays, and what, and as well as where steam boilers are used. Hello? Hello?
We can hear you, sir.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. We can hear you.
Okay, sir. Section 87 of it, which also empower the minister to exempt, like I said, it has in the factories are including those people, those places being exempted are the mines from the definition word of a factory. It now says that it's and now you know when you exempt, you extend coverage as well. It's now the Section 54 of the factories has now give the minister the power also to extend coverage to premises being used or occupied as separate factories, docks, wharves, and quays, as well as where steam boilers are used. Anywhere steam boilers are used, it is reserved to us as a factory. Section 57 also empower the minister to extend application of this provision. It can exempt, that's the power, give it to him in Section 87. It can extend, it can exempt from 87, it can extend in 54. Another one in 57 can say it can also add, or the application can extend, either extend, the extension of it is as a result of the 54. Factory therefore includes such premises as dockyard or shipyards, manufacturing industry, quarries, printing presses, auto mechanic workshops, electrical generation installation, water works, petrochemicals. It includes an open air and enclosed work premises government owned. We find that even as a government official, there are a lot of factories, there are a lot of places, government owned premises that we do inspection to carry out our occupational safety and health inspection, our routine inspection, even though they are government owned companies. Include any premises in which steam boilers are used, like I've said, but also, like I said, it excludes mines, agriculture, and construction. When you say construction site, you mean the building and civil engineering alone. When you say construction, the building and civil engineering alone. I think in the review 2004, when it is reviewed, a lot of them will be added, and some also will be removed. Factories Act. There are key provisions in the Factories Act. Like I said, Mr. Mukhtar was explaining the other time, yes, like our Bible, our Quran, that we use for our religion activities. But the Factories Act has 11 parts, and it is spelled out in a total of 89 sections and 5 schedules. It provides for the structures and the procedure for what? Enforcement. Like I said, I've explained this in the introductory part of it for safety and work of the workers. Now, let's go in there. Part 1. The part 1 of the Practice Act, which starts from sections 1 to section 6, talks about the registration of factories. What do you register of a factory rather? It is the statutory power of the Federal Ministry of Labor to have all the factories in Nigeria in their register book. It is the statutory power that resides in the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment. Sometimes when people look at Federal Ministry of Labor, you look at it labor. No, there's another part called inspectorate in the labor, Federal Ministry of Labor. The inspectorate has mostly the science students, the science graduates rather, the science graduates, the engineers, and some other science related. You have the labor inspectorate. The labor inspector will not be asking you questions that the factory inspectorate is the one that is saddled with that responsibility of doing this when it comes to factory. We shall be looking at that in due course. There must be a registration of factory. Every factory must be registered. I will take you through the registration process in the other slides. Submission of plans for approval before construction of factory. It is stated that before any person used as a factory, it must be registered 6 months before the reconstruction of it. The Federal Ministry of Labor must be notified about it before you even start the reconstruction of the factory. Notification of change in particulars. After you must have registered with Federal Ministry of Labor and you have submitted some drawings, if you have made any alteration in the drawing, the ministry ought to know. You ought to write the ministry that you have made a particular alteration, and an inspection team will come and look at what alteration you have made. And an upgrade of that drawing also will be submitted, in addition to one you have submitted before when you are doing your registration. Yes, there is a factory appeal board by the minister. The minister has a power here again to constitute factory appeal board. In case when there are contraventions, even though it gives you an opportunity, the stakeholders opportunity, when you've been penalized for a particular wrongdoing, you can write to the board within 30 days of that notification. Requirement for factory's registration. The requirement for factory registration, it is entitled, you are to get a form from Federal Ministry of Labor, a form of 5,000 naira form for factory registration with the giving score, like I have stated there. It is a TSA, that's Treasury Single Account. The money is paid into Treasury Single Account. The Treasury Single Account will have the money. The receipt of it will be brought to our office. We have various nearest office in every state, like the one we have in Lagos, we have in Yaba, we have the headquarters in Ikoyi beside passport office. So if you are registering a factory, you shall pay a sum of 5,000 naira for the registration of the form. Completion and submission of the application form. The application form that you have collected, when you are submitting, it must come with the following: 3 copies of the written application on complete letterhead paper. Of course, definitely that, okay, Mr. Company A Nigeria, ABC Nigeria Limited is writing to notify the director of factory, that's the head, the director of factory, that's DOSH, director of factory occupational safety and net is in our headquarters in Abuja. So that will be written, there will be a letter to him or to her through the state office. 2 copies of the certificate of incorporation, of course, 2 copies of certificate of incorporation of the company that is intended to register a factory. 2 copies of the list of machine indicating the place and date of procurement. If you are using a mixing machine, for example, a mixing machine, that's the name mixing machine, it is obtained from Nigeria or China or USA or United States or in Port Harcourt, state it, which year did you purchase it, 2014, 2015. That is how you state all your machines that you are intended to use for your production. 2 copies of the list of materials indicating their known hazard. Like we have said, of course, we want to minimize hazard. We want to minimize occupational safety, occupational accident. So we want to know which chemicals are you using. The chemical, are they hazardous? If they are hazardous, what is the storage techniques? Which storage techniques are you giving to it? The risk exposure. Sometimes, yes, in your MSDS, material safety data sheet, you will have some of them, but you need to look at them again so that you can domesticate those in your own company. 2 copies of actuarial drawing of the factory premises. You will be required to submit 2 actuarial drawing of the factory's premises. The 2 copies of location. Location is site plan now. Site plans done by the draftsmen, the architecturals. Again, 2 copies of machinery layout of the production floor. The production that he wants to do, what are the sequence? What are the sequence of preparation? If you are moving, these are the sequence, to show you the sequence of operation. It show you what they call man-machine relationship. There is man-machine relationship because we don't want overcrowding. We don't want whereby a machine of 10, whereby a machine of 10 is housed in a particular place, whereby you cannot have more than 2 or 3 or 4. So you now put 10 there. No, you don't. We want to see. We want to see the permissible standard so that we have. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can, sir. Yes, we can.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm hearing you.
2 copies of approved building plan. The approved building plan is in two folds, sir. The 2-fold is if the company that you are using or the premises, the land that you are using, if it is owned by you, definitely you will tell us that, okay, this land is owned by me and it's going to be used for factory premises as a factory for factory process. Now, if it is not owned by you, yeah, you need to write a letter in lieu of that this company, this land, it is a lease, and we don't expect you to have an approved building plan of a building that is leased, because the approved building plan definitely will be with the owner of the land. Now, after the prospective person have submitted all these documents in our office, like I said, we have offices in all the states in Nigeria. Now, a pre-registration is done by inspector in the nearest, like I said, nearest now. Of course, if you own a factory in Lagos, it is expected that the factories, the inspector of factories that will come for the inspection should be from the Lagos office. If you own a company in Ogun State, it is the inspector of factory in Ogun State that should come for the pre-registration. In the pre-registration, they have come there to look at what are those things. Your environment. How is your environment like? What is your power source, energy source? We have a checklist for that during the. We want to look at your lighting. We want to look at electrical installation. We want to look at your flooring. Is it safe for the nature of work that you want to do? If it is not safe, we will advise you accordingly. We have a lot of things that will, at the end of the day, the letter, evidence of payment, like I said. Now, I have there's something I want to make a clarification here. The first morning paid is 5,000 naira, which is for application form. Based on the number of staff that you have, number of workers that you have presently, if you have a particular number from 1 to 10, you pay a particular sum of money. If you have from 11 to 100, you pay a particular sum of money. If you have from 101 to 500, you pay a particular sum of money as a factory registration fee. I'll get that in the next slide. If you have more than 500, you pay a particular sum of money into Treasury single account of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Documentation must be completed before forwarding of the applications to the Director of Factory for processing and the issuance of certificate. The certificate that will be issued, which is called Certificate of Registration of Factory, it is called from Lab F1. In every organization, they have their terminology, they have their nomenclature that they use. In factory, in Federal Ministry of Labor, when you say F1, a factory inspector knows that F1 is registration form. When you say F2, F2 is certificate of registration of factory. If you say F3, F3 is general register of factory. If you say F4, F4 is abstract of factory side, like we have with that of the Department of Petroleum Resources. Submission of handwritten, of typewritten application. I've explained all this. Submission of expired. Okay, sorry. Now, if you have submitted this now, inspection, a team of inspectors will come to your office at a scheduled time. They will come to your office, to your premises. They will look at it. They will look at your welfare. We basically look at, because of your occupational safety and everything, we look at the health, we look at the safety, we look at the welfare of your workers, welfare of the environment. Are you getting me? There is something we call health safety and employment, health safety and welfare, general provision. We have the general provision, we have the special provision. What type of PPEs do you need to give to them? We'll talk about that. What type of things do they need to use? Okay, people that are working in the spraying section, they need more than a nose mask, they need a respirator. We'll go into that in due course. So this certificate, after issuance, it is renewable every 2 years. The certificate of registration of factory, it is renewable every 2 years. So when you want to renew now, that will be the next slide. This requirement for the renewal of certificate of registration of factory. Submission of handwritten application, like I've done, of typewritten application that we have done for the application process. That also will be repeated for renewal of certificate of factory registration with the letterhead. Submission of the expired. Upon the expiration of that certificate, it is expected that if you want to do another renewal for federal government to know that your company is still in existence, you will be expected to submit the expired certificate. You submit the expired certificate alongside with your TSA payment. I mentioned something, this evidence of payment that I've told you the other time is the same thing. For example, if you have a staff between 1 to 10, apart from 5,000 naira registration fee that you pay, you need to pay again for the certificate of factory. You need to pay 10,000 naira. If your staff strength is between 1 and 10, if your staff strength is between 11 to 100, you need to pay 50,000 naira into TSA account. If you are between 101 to 500, you need to pay 100,000 naira. Above 500, 101 to 500, you need to pay 100,000. Above 500, you pay 150,000 naira to the purse of Federal Ministry of Labor through remitter, treasury single account. So validity period of certificate, like I said, okay, is 2 years commencing from the day of the payment of fee. For example, if you pay for certificate, if you pay through TSA now, you now decide to, like, I don't want to go to Federal Ministry of Labor, I want to keep it. If the letter or if your document did not get to us and you just open that, okay, since you have paid, because of the fact that headquarters will not relate with anybody individually, they only relate with all through the state. And through the state, we have head of factory in various states. We have what? Head of factory in Lagos State, we have head of factory in Ogun State, we have head of factory in Osun, in Anambra, any other part of the country. We have head of factory. It is expected that the head of factory, the letter or the document that you bring, whether for registration or for renewal, must come through the head of factory from Lagos. So if you now decide that, okay, I paid on 2nd or on the 3rd of January 2020, I can decide to keep it. If you keep it, if you didn't do the necessary thing, of course, because we didn't receive anything, we can only talk about what we receive. We can only process what we receive. If you believe that since you have paid, you can keep it. Now, the expiration of that money that you have paid, start counting from the day you have made the payment. That is why we always encourage people. Immediately you have paid, ask for the necessary document, the necessary step, come to the office and you do the needful. In another 90 days after you have submitted, there must be issuance of certificate of registration of factory. When the inspector or the team of inspectors of factory that have gone to the place are satisfied that that place have really satisfied the section 87 of factories, definitely there will be a recommendation in our report that, okay, this place constitutes a factory. I hereby, anything you do in civil service, definitely there is order of preference, there is order at which we do that. So we plead with, that's our language in civil service. You see please, you see plea, that's what you use. So at the end of the day, I hereby recommend factories A, B, C as a factory for registration, please. So that is our way. Please don't ask me that question. That is our way. That's where I belong. That's where I find myself. Like I said, yes, this I've explained this. Yes, I said the fee payable, this is still the same. 1 to 10, you pay this amount. 10 to 100, you pay this. 11 to 100, you pay this amount. And again, factory more than this, you pay this amount. I think I've done this. Amendments. Now, amendments. When you talk about amendment, I've talked about registration of factory. I've talked about renewal. I'm talking about amendment now. If you want to amend, amendment of certificate of registration of factories, amendment can come in 3 ways, sir. The 3 ways amendment can come is if you, for example, at the time of registration of the factory, it was located at Ikeja, for example. You now decide that, okay, that maybe there's a constraint of space. You don't like your machinery is bigger than what you are using at this point. All you need to do, you are now, okay, you now think that, okay, this was an even rented one. I've gotten a bigger place in Oshodi. Now, you now move your factory to Oshodi. You need to submit a written request for amendment conveyed on company's letterhead. Amendment can come through relocation of factory. If you relocate your factory, you can do amendment. Amendment can come if, for example, you have a line, to produce biscuit before. Now, you now added another line now. If you add another line, definitely you're adding another machinery. If you add another machinery, you don't want to produce, you are producing biscuit before, you don't want to produce biscuits and sweet. Definitely in your line of operation, there is change. That is, amendment can come as a result of change in line of business or addition of line of business. Thirdly, amendment can also come when there is change of ownership. For example, Orila Nigeria Limited is producing coca oats, but now, after maybe there is a mismanagement or I don't know of any sort, so you now want to change management. If there is change in management, the management will not want to use that name. So definitely the management will have their own name. So even though they retained all the machineries and all the apparatus that are in the company, the name has been changed. You can sort amendment when it comes to that. Amendment may be required, like I said, changing lanes. I just explained that to the location like that. Now, we can do registration, we can do amendments, we can do renewal, we can do amendment as well as revocation. God forbid, if by venture, the company is no more in existence, the company needs to notify us for revocation. They will write a letter to us that, okay, this company is no more here, they are shutting down permanently. There is temporary shutting down, there is what a permanent shutting down. If you are shutting down temporarily, you will notify us as soon as production or activities commences. But if you are shutting down permanently, we need to collect the certificate that we have given you. So the federal ministry in their register book, we know that company A is no more in existence. Revocation of certificate, like I said, is usually carried out based on the recommendation of the factory inspectors. Yeah, when there is evidence that the company has closed down permanently, is no longer in production, or has shown no sign of activity over a prolonged period of time, as will have been observed by the inspector, factory inspector, in course of the series of visits. For them to do this, it means that our 6-monthly visit, in every year, we are expected to visit a particular factory twice, 6 monthly. So for it to be revocation, is not going to be only one visit. You will have seen that the company there has not been what activities in the company. Now, the part two act, the part two of the factory act talks about the cleanliness of the workplace, the housekeeping of the workplace. It is not because they are all human beings. They are someone's father, someone's sister, someone's uncle, someone's nephew, someone's niece, someone's son and daughters. So we need a clean environment for you to have a factory. This is what we check in. That is section 7 of our Factories Act. Overcrowding, like I explained the other time, overcrowding. When you find out that a particular number of machine that is designed for a particular workplace, it is more than overcrowding. It can be overcrowding of machines or overcrowding of a human. So again, ventilation. There must be good ventilation. There must be good ventilation in and out of the any factory that you are using for any process. So we expected that the use of extractor fans, the use of industrial fan in some cases, the use of natural air. Yeah, there are some that natural air also can be as a result of that. So we believe that there must be proper ventilation. And again, lighting, that is illumination. That is section 10 of the Factories Act. Section 10, if you go to, because of the fact that we want to reduce energy, what we preach is, it is not all the time. We're talking about lighting, we are trying to conserve energy, conservation of energy. There's something we call this skylight, translucent skylight. This translucent skylight, if you have it well in your roofing, it is always good. It gives a natural lighting. Even when you are working at night, you find that it gives you a balance, a good balance. In the day, you don't need to on any of your lighting system. So drainage of floor, yes, in any wet processes, whereby there is coagulation or the way that there is water, wet floors, we expect that there must be proper drainage of floor, of course, so as to prevent falling down, so as to prevent falls and trips like that. So sanitary convenience, definitely. There must be sanitary convenience when you look at the Factories Act, they have the ratio of male to female when it comes to sanitary convenience. There must be proper sanitary convenience in any factory. Now, the part 3, the machine fencing. Yes, definitely. Every machine that you use, they must be fenced. The moving part of it, even though we always preach that in any factory, all you need to do is wear a very good cloth, a working cloth, not a loose one that can attract any machine or that can cause accident in any. So we always encourage guiding, training of workers, training and supervision of workers. Yes, definitely. That's our section 23 of it. The training and supervision. We don't want a lone worker. If you must work, there must be a supervisor. There must be a supervisor, because most of the time, most of the accident, because you can't get eyewitness report, because of the fact that the person that is actually working was working as a lone ranger. There was nobody, no second person to assist or to give any type of help, even in case of any accident. Now, safety of oils, like I said, this has been expunged. The section 24, 25, 26, and 27 has been expunged from this act. But it is always very good for me, because I'm talking about Factories Act, it's always very good for me to tell you that this has been taken care of in the other regulation. That is what we call subsidiary regulation. Yes, safe access, there must be safe access to every in and out of it. Exits must be clearly marked. Precautions against films, anybody that is, of course, that is working in a confined place must use the necessary PPEs that is appropriate for that task. Precaution against explosive and inflammatory, of course, definitely. Steam boilers, like I've said, the steam boilers, the steam boiler, the pressure vessel. Presently, before now, rather, they were in 31, 32, and 33, and they were expunged. Prevention and control of fire, definitely. That's section 35. Some advice talks about you must have the smoke detectors, the sprinkler units, the fire extinguisher, the appropriate type, DCP, CO2, any type that is applicable for the nature of what to do in the company. Yes. Again, when you look at this, it is also as improvement. If a particular inspector go for any investigation or any inspection, so he can write an improvement notice. If you go for a particular inspection, if you go for the next time, there's something we call, because that is under the power of inspector. I will get to that when we get to 65, section 65 of it. So the power really resides, the power to improve, to write improvement and prohibition. An inspector can tell you, this company, of course, because of what you are doing here, you can write prohibition so that stop work. Work can be stopped when you find out that most of the things they are doing are not occupational safety and net conscious. Appeal against notices, of course, like I said, that is the power of the minister. That can be under in 30 days. That can be done. That okay, this particular thing, another set of inspectors will be sent. Part 4, we have the welfare now. Yes, every worker that works in your company must have a source of supply of potable drinking water, washing facilities, definitely in case of inhalation, in case of speed. So you need to wash your face and any part of your body that is being affected. Accommodation for clothes not wearing. But because of the fact that because of triangle of fire, because we have triangle of fire, which is the oxygen, the fuel, and the heat now, those clothes that are hung in indiscriminately can become a source of what? A fuel in any fire, during the fire incident. First aid to the prescribed orders, yes. There will be exemption here. First aid boxes should be at strategic places. You don't expect a first aid whereby you put analgesics so that people can do drug abuse. No. All we want is that there must be a prescribed standard order. The key must be with someone that is always available, that can be reached. And in case there is no first aid, in case there is ambulance route where an injured person can be treated, so the first aid may not suffice in this case. So it's either you have the first aid boxes, you have the ambulance room whereby the injured person can be treated when needed. Exception for ambulance, of course, like I've said, there's exception for ambulance. If you have first aid basis, if you have this, you may not have this. If you have the other one, you can do without the ambulance. Removal of doors and films, of course, this the part 5 of it, the health, safety and welfare, special provision and regulation. This one resides in 45 to 50, which talks about the removal of dust and films where a lot of particles are flying around. So the use of the appropriate PPEs, that is what we preach. Provision of meals in workplace where poisonous fumes. We don't expect workers to start eating whereby there will be the addition of some chemicals that can cause issue, that can cause damage or that can cause any health effect. to that person. Personal protective equipment, of course, that's section 47 of it. It is expected that all employer of labor, the management, must provide personal protective equipment for their workers so that they can work without expose themselves to any hazard. Power of minister to make rules and regulation. Of course, we have said that. Power of the inspector to take samples. Yes, the inspectors have a power. That's power of the inspector in 65. In 65, it has power to come day or night, even though that is in the Factories Act. The Factories Act has given an inspector a power to come visit. If they might not even send a notice for you, but sometimes we need to be flexible in what we are doing. If we are flexible in what we are doing, it means that an inspection notice will be sent. We always send an inspection notice at least a week prior to the inspection day. The part 6 of this act says the notification and investigation of accident and industrial disease, which reside in 51 to 53. The 51 is the notification and investigation of accident in a factory, which causes loss of life to an employee or person, disability. There is a form in which you notify the Federal Ministry of Labor, Factory Inspectorate about an accident. If you have an accident in your company, there is a form called Form Lab F6. Like I said the other time, we have our F1, F2, F2. We have to up to F2, F25. F25 is the certificate of competency for the approved persons for the lifting and allied work equipment and the pressure vessels. Notification of dangerous occurrence. If it requires to notify notification of on Lab F10, if there is a particular, we have our own register again, whereby whereby the accidents that happen in all companies during the year, they have a register for it. That is it is also required the notification of occupational disease on Form Lab F10. The reportable disease are enumerated in the Declaration of the Occupational Disease Notice in 1956. I have shown you in the subsidiary regulations to this Factories Act. Every company, it is charged to report an accident that takes any worker away for more than 72 hours, which is 3 days. If any, except fatality. If someone died immediately, Ministry of Labor needs, by this Act 51, Section 51, needs to be informed immediately through what? Their letterhead paper, notification of accident. It will notify the director of factory, the head of factory Lagos, and again the letter will accompany one of our form, which is called Form Lab F6. Form Lab F6 is the form for what? Notification of accident. It is expected that this is given in free. The Form Lab F6 is given to all the company in free. You have them, you have copies of them freely, and immediately an accident occur. If someone had a bruise and it can take the person away for only 1 day to return back to work, you don't need to return to report to us. If it is taking the person away for more than 1 day, for 1 day rather, you don't need to report. For 2 days, you don't need to report. At the 3rd day, at the close of work on the 3rd day, if the person has not resumed work, definitely there must be reported. It must be reported to the nearest factory office, which is Lagos, for example, now, to the head of factory. Now, so upon submission of that, a team of inspectors will now visit the company again to do accident investigation. Accident investigation, generally, it is not a fault finding. It's not a fault finding. It's just a fact finding, so that we know that there will not be reoccurrence of that accident in the near future. Special application extension and miscellaneous provision. extension of the application of certain provisions of the Act to other places of employment, such as, like I've said, the power of the minister to do what? To extend, to remove, and to add. The minister powers to make rules and regulations to extend the application of all or any of the provisions of this Act to any of the following classes of the premises provided or operations, such as warehouse premises in which a hoist or lift is used, harbors, wet dock, building operations, and work of engineering construction. General register. Maintaining a general register, like I said, I call it F3 the other time. The F3 is a green book. It is no, I can call it a green book. Sometimes we call it a brown book, depending on the back of the color of the back page. Now, this book has the general information about your servicing, your maintenance of your machines. It has maintenance of your machine. Even when you do whitewashing, you put it in there. Any accident that occur, it is the book that is put in there. Any accident that occur in the factory must be put in the book. Anytime you do maintenance, anytime you do certification, yes, because most of the companies fail to understand that there's a difference between the certification and maintenance. You can ask your workers to do maintenance for you, but they won't be the one to certify that equipment for you. Posting of abstract of factory, that is F6, F4. There is a F4 whereby we have an abstract of it. All these I'm explaining to you that have been in a summary form, whereby anytime I go to inspection, I always tell the workers or the employer of labor that this power is the one that gave me, this is the section that gave me the power to come here and not just coming here to do what you don't like or what you think I just feel like coming to inspect. It is the power that have empowered me to do this. Duty of the employee, of course, definitely. Sometimes there is section 65 of section 61 of it. The advice says that an employee also have a duty. If the company, for example, provide the necessary gadgets for you to use to safeguard your safety and health and your welfare while you are doing your working activities, but you decide not to use it and you have caused a problem, though, so we always we penalize workers also. Not only this law, this act is not made for workers alone, or it's not made for the employer alone, it is made for the employer of labor and the employee. The annual report, appointment of inspectors, that power resides with the minister as well. Appointment of inspector, power of factories act, power of factory inspectors. Yes, like I said, power of factory inspector. Inspector has the power to prohibit, to improve, to stop work, to take sample. If you look at section 65 of the Factories Act, there are a lot of things that we have in the power of the inspectors. Offenses, penalty and legal proceedings. Yeah, and penalties for persons committing offenses for which the occupier is liable. Penalties for offenses for which no express penalty is provided. Penalty for forgery of certificate. Of course, if you don't have, you say you have, there is penalty for that. Penalty for false entry and false declaration. Yes, we have that. We are proceeding against, even inspector of factories can proceed against persons other than occupiers or owners. Prosecution of offenses, power to modify agreement, power to apportion expenses. So that is what is have in the part 10 of this act. The last part of it is the savings, the general application for factory belonging to government of the, like I said, Nigerian Printing and Mint, where our money is being printed. Definitely, I have inspected the place at Amadou Bello Way, Victoria Island. I've done the inspection at least once this year. So federal government press, that one at Ajegule, I think, yes, Mandu Road, we do that most of the time. So interpretation, meaning of factories. Factories Act enforcement. Enforcement, of course, definitely. How do we enforce? Like I have said, the enforcement of the Factories Act and its subsidiary legislation is a statutory responsibility of Federal Ministry. Of course, definitely, I've explained all this for you. Inspection of factory, routine inspection, check inspection, investigation when there is accident investigation, assessment and monitoring. Of course, like I've said, screening of workers. In most of the food industries, food handlers tests always require for food handlers tests. Says that's where the analysis of sample definitely will get that response of complaint, issue of recommendation and corrective. When there is accident investigation, we look at the overview, like Mr. Adegoke in one of his training has taught us again. We look at the root cause, the immediate cause, what kind of cause that can cause, and the kind of recommendation that you can give. Issue of recommendation, application of sanctions, and non-compliance of broad behavior. Enforcement of legal provisions concerning occupational safety and health and the working environment should be secured by an adequate and appropriate system of inspection, definitely. It is only when you go for inspection that you can do proper regulatory exercise. So inspection system shall have the capacity to secure the enforcement of legal provision. Of course, we have explained all this, supply technical information advice, identify defects or abuse not covered by existing legal information. So this is also you can find in Article 3 of the Labor Inspection Convention of 1947, number 81. Factories Act, okay. All established companies by there are subject to inspection by a factory inspector, of course. Definitely, this is part of our enforcement. How do we enforce there is safe working environment? Yeah, factory inspection are mostly proactive rather than reactive. That is emphasis on prevention. It should make emphasis on prevention. It's always going to be, example, we call feed forward and feed backward. It's always very good for you to do a preventive. You see, a lot of companies, of course, definitely they do three types of, they do maintenance, they do preventive, they do corrective, they do overhauling. We always encourage preventive maintenance. That's a feed forward. It's an anticipatory maintenance. So that is what the factory also should do. Factory inspector are vested with executive power, of course. I'm sorry, as small as I am, when I enter a company, I have the executive power of the Mr. President to enter and inspect any company by day or by the night. That's the power of the factory inspector. Workplace must be inspected as often as thoroughly as possible for effective application of the legal. Yes, definitely, we've explained that. Involve activities carried out in response to an incident or a complaint. Aim at gathering, we have explained this, also carried out to detect breach of law and apply sanctions or other necessary actions. Assessment and monitoring of the work environment, yes, may be carried out in order to determine work process, substances, and agent which should be controlled, limited. I've explained this. Health screening, there's medical testing, I've explained this. Laboratory analysis of samples, of course, definitely. Sometimes you go ahead and do something because you find that a particular product or a particular process is having adverse health effect on people. So definitely we have the power to say, okay, let's get laboratory analysis. And because of that, we have the team of the scientists, the engineers in my department. So immediately when a lot of people are like, when most of people hear about labor, Ministry of Labor and Employment, they look at this as being only labor. No, there's the factory inspectorate, there's the labor inspectorate. I will not go to the company and be asking questions about how much they pay, how much workers are collecting, how much are they collecting for as incentives or overtime. It is not within my own jurisdiction. It is the decision of a routine of a labor officer to do that for me. Aftermath of inspection, enforcement. Of course, before you do enforcement, there are a lot of things that needed to be done. We have the persuasion or advice. Definitely, when we go tell about the formal advice, and we write that in our form lab F8, that's the correspondence. After an inspection has been carried out, there are two reports. We have our reports our routine report, we have a report from lab F8 and from lab F9. From lab F8 is a correspondence that the inspectors, after an inspection has been carried out to the company. From lab F9 is the one that an inspector we have. It is the inspector's copy. So the one that is accessible to the occupier, we call them occupier, to the company, is the one that, okay, having come to your company for this, the following are the recommendations made. And we expect that immediately that has been taken care of, we expect them to write us back that so thing A, B, C, D said have been taken care of, and there will be another one, a revisit. Improvement. If I have gotten that, I went to company A, for example, and I have stated contraventions, about 10 contraventions. If the 10 contraventions have been written back to me that, okay, this has been taken care of, then there will be what they call improvement notice. That is still the power of an inspector. Cautionary, when you want what you needed to have done, you didn't do it, then there will be a what? Cautionary letter. And the next in the cautionary letter will be the warning notice. We have the first warning notice, we have the second warning notice, and we have the final warning notice. If still don't change, so what do we need to do is prohibition. This I just gave you is what we call enforcement pyramid. And after that, when you prohibit, we prosecute. I've explained this: improvement notice, specify remedial, prohibition tells the employer, warning notice, cautionary. I've explained all this. This is the sanction pyramid I just explained now. Offenses under this Factories Act: failure to comply with or contravention of any of the provision of there is an offense. Like I've explained. If, for example, you subject people to working at height without the various hanging, you subject people working where there is poor ventilation that can cause heat stroke. Of course, definitely that's a contravention. If you employ people whereby they were not trained on a particular machine, and it is, we got to know, because anybody that is going there, because most of us are engineers and most of us are scientists. So if you ask, and we got to know from our own way of knowing our standard, we got to know is over what? A contravention. If you, for example, if people are working in a place that there is cables not well truncated, you don't have a well-trunked electrical installation, whereby it can cause electrocution. So it is also a contravention. Refusing to cooperate with an official inquiry or investigation, obstructing, of course, you can obstruct an inspector not to carry out, tampering with evidence or witness during an inquiry or investigation, failing to use safety equipment provided by the employer. Like I said in the section 61, is also we are not coming there to force or to say, okay, the employer has not done well. Even you as an employee, all you need to have done, if you don't do it, and we find out that you are not doing those things, then you'll be penalized. If you are penalized, we will not be the one to sanction you. But we can always tell you in our own report, it will be written there. And when it is written there, the company will not want to get a bad name or don't want to be in a bad book of the government. So definitely, you know what can happen to such a worker. Willful act or inaction to endanger the health safety of a person in the course of work, definitely. So forgery anywhere, any day, it is what? A big contravention, a big sin. Penalties. The Factories Act is part of criminal law, and as such, offenses against these are punishable by fines and prison sentences. Yes, we have seen a lot of our even though I have not done that, but at least some of our mates have gone to magistrate court. They have testified against a lot of companies, yes, that have been sanctioned when it comes to this. Upon conviction, the penalty are severe depending on the offense and or prison terms ranging up to maximum of 2 years. The maximum penalty is applicable where there have been loss of life out of breach of any provision of the act. The employees
Act, a Compensation Act of 2020, an act that provides for an open and fair system of guaranteed and adequate compensation for any debt. Of course, in case whereby someone is working for you and there was something happened, the person died, so definitely this act has even been enacted so that it can have a proper thing. The act is intended to cover all employee in both formal and informal sectors, but excluding members of Nigerian Armed Forces. It repealed and replaced the Workmen Compensation Act, Cap W6 of Law of Federation of Nigeria of 2010. That is what that has done. Continue, it includes a no fault clause, yes, such that who is at fault, be it due to employee or employer negligence for cause of injury, disability, or death, is of no relevance. It is of what? No relevance, especially when life is lost. And now prescribing permanent of a flat rate amounting to a sum equal to 42-month earning when the injury is fatal, and 54 months earning where total permanent disability result. This one, NSITF, the labor inspectors, they are gurus when it comes to this. But our own is to, well, after we must have done our inspection, we'll get all necessary reports to them for follow-up. It is being implemented and enforced, like I just said, by the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF, a parastatal of Federal Ministry of Labor and Productivity or Employment, as the case may be. The NSITF ensures that funds are remitted regularly by employers. Of course, if you must, it's a two-way thing. If you don't pay for your workers, then into a common pool of funds held under its custody for payment of beneficiaries. Because if you don't pay, just like the insurance, I'm not an expert when it comes to that. Thank you. Further development, of course, on HSE laws and regulation, occupational safety and health environment law and regulation in Nigeria are continually evolving. Of course, continues to go through a process of continual development, improvement. Of course, the world of work is different now. The way we were working during pre-COVID-19 is different from the way we are working now. We are still, well, so some people post-COVID, so some people we are still in COVID. Which of any of the school of thought that you belong to. So it shows that what the federal government has seen is that the way people are working now, people are working remotely, people are working as the work is as their continual development and improvement. There must be improvement in the way we do our own occupational safety and health laws. Occupational safety and health bills, a bill for an act to repeal and replace Factories Act. I've been saying, like I said it at the beginning of the program, that a bill has been sent to the National Assembly for passage into law. The bill seeks to make comprehensive provision for occupational health and safety in workplaces and for other material matters connected herewith. It also seek to establish a national council for occupational safety and health. It addresses several important issues and widen the scope of the legislation, as the new act will apply to all workplaces except those whose occupational safety and health conditions are governed by specific law already, but wherein those specific laws do not meet the minimum standard contained in the new law, then it will be what? It will be applied. It also seeks to provide stiffer penalty. Of course, the penalties, because a lot of companies, they will look at it again, that okay, the penalty is not much, I can decide to do this for my workers. Well, so what the Occupational Safety Act and Health Bill is trying to do is that to provide a stiffer penalty for compliance. A minimum fine of 100,000 to some of them is still a chicken change, but to some, it's still a lot of money and a maximum of 1,000 naira. But when we are doing safety, as a part of for monetary level, for monetary purpose, we are not going to get best out of it. We don't do it because of legal issue. We don't do it because we want to get any profit from it. It is a moral obligation of the employee and employer of labor to work in a safe and working environment. More effective enforcement, definitely, higher standard of occupational safety and net to take account of the changes in technology. We all agree that there is changing in technology, so definitely we must change as the wave is going on. Involvement of a wider, of course, definitely. Of course, like I said, there are enforcement challenges. Like I said the other time, shortage of qualified manpower. Sometimes you find that the number of people, the number of companies that we have, we cannot you cannot finish all the inspections. Do you understand? You cannot finish them in a year. So we find that we need the government as part of our own way of making sure that operational safety and net is at the top notch. Inadequate fund allocation, allocated short supply of required operational material. Of course, definitely, if you want a good enforcement, there must be vehicles, there is scientific equipment. If you are talking about health, now you are talking about heat, you are talking about temperature. You don't have a temperature measuring device with you. You are talking about decibel. You are saying there is noise pollution. If you don't have an equipment to measure that accurately, how do you expect to carry out your operation? The existing legals are mostly outdated and weak in terms of penalties. I want to agree with that as well. Overlapping of functions, lack of cooperation, and poor coordination of effort among enforcement. Even though we find that there are even over there is overlap of duty. Of course, mostly, but that is what operational safety and health, the revised edition, has come to address. New and emerging hazard, of course, because there are new technologies, ignorance of laws or low awareness. Yes, we are trying to we as government or government agency or as the regulatory body, we are trying to do that now to help our games when it comes to that. Ignorance of law and low level of what awareness. Health safety often not considered a priority by both employer and employer alike. They look at it that, okay, why did I want to do this? So if you are doing that in terms of profit because of it is not bringing any economic value to it. If the normal slogan that should be for everybody is if it is not safe, please don't do it. The growing informal sector, yes, underreporting. Yes, underreporting, this is another problem as well. You find that accidents happens in places people will not. We have, in fact, there's something we call industrial IR, industrial process in our, it is being saddled, the power belongs to the labor inspectorate. Yes, there's dispute between the employer and employer. They call it IR. So they always have that in our office and part of it. But most of the companies or most of them don't, they always report the industrial accident and occupational disease. So, but if you don't know, we won't know. If you don't, it is only what we know that will go for the investigation. Occupational safety and net, in conclusion, occupational safety and net, and policy constitute a vital tool in the protection and promotion of the health and safety and well-being of workers, as well as environmental protection for good of all and Sunday. I hope you agree with me on this. There exists in Nigeria a multitude of occupational safety and net law and regulation, each being enforced and implemented by one of the, of course, definitely, the need for effective enforcement. This is a very key issue, effective enforcement of the existing occupational safety and net law and regulation cannot be overemphasized, as their laws will be worthless and of no effect unless backed up by effective system of enforcement. Appropriate legislation and regulations, together with adequate means of enforcement, and essential for the protection of worker safety and health. Thank you very much for your attention. God bless you.
Thank you so much, sir. It's really an interesting section and a very enlightening section, because I really believe some of us don't even really know in depth of what you've enlightened us on. And it's really an opportunity for a lot of people who need to ask questions to start asking questions. So if you have any question, please kindly raise up your hand and ask. Any question, please? Engineer Francis, you can kindly unmute yourself and ask a question, sir.
Thank you very much. Let me first appreciate Speaker for this very, very elaborate lecture this evening. Very elaborate, and it really dealt actively with the Labor Act. You answered a lot of questions I would have loved to ask, and you are very, very honest and sincere about it all. Now, I want us to look at government and regulation, government and enforcement, because the problem we have in Nigeria, we have laws. Like, look at the Factories Act has been broken down into many, many laws. We have so many laws. Even the Factories Act has been extrapolated more to really deal with some certain areas that need to be looked at especially. But you mentioned the inability of the Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment to reach out to every employer. We know it's not practicable. Now, I want you to address this staff strength in relation to the enforcement responsibility of the Ministry of Labor in terms of enforcing the Labor Act. And we have another challenge again in processing of documents. And I want to know, because we are getting to the computer age, we are past the jet age and getting to the computer age. Why the length of time in this processing? You mentioned 90 days. Why would it take somebody who is even renewing his document, somebody who already has a certificate and wants to renew it 2 years later? Why would it take him that much to wait for the renewal? And again, must he have an interface with the Office of Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment in his domain before he can do that? Why don't we put a seamless process online where he can do it without any stress? And the third question I want to ask is on staff competency. That's the staff of Ministry of Labor and Employment that we recruited for inspection work. Is it that because you should get the quality of a trainer such that the Ministry of Labor and Employment, your HSE office that handles this Labor Act, should not only be able to carry out enforcement of the provisions of the Act, you should be able as well to be a trainer. So the staff competency that you have in your ministry, how updated and what is the quality? And there's one provision I'm questioning, because this Act, you and I know at this point should be quickly updated, reviewed, revised. 12 days compensation in a whole year for injury that results in lost work days. Why has this not been revisited? Thank you for your presentation once again, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Francis, thank you for your question. So, Engineer Kosoko, please, you have the floor, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Francis, thank you for this question. You mentioned something about staff strength. I didn't get that question right, but I will answer the remaining 3 or 2 other questions, or 3. The length of renewal, 90 days. You see, before now, before the TSA, the Treasury Signal Account, we find out that when a payment is made, it is even more faster than this. But because of the fact that government is trying to block the loopholes, corruptions, and all the rest like that, the TSA, the Treasury, the money will first get to the Treasury House. That is why I have advised, if you have done that, immediately you have done that, it is always very good for you to come submit. Your own is to submit. When you submit, it will be taken immediately. The following week or 2 weeks after, at mass, depending on the number of reports that we have, will be sent to. And because of the fact that the number of companies that we have, the number of factories that we have are enormous, so that is why it must be stages. That 90 days, it is stages, and some of them even less. I forgot to tell you, the max you can have is 90. For you not to have your certificate or renewal, it means that there are some things in your documentation that are not right. If those things are not right, I don't have power to do that until you get your documentation right. That is number one on that. Staff competency. When I mean staff competency, it is like Oliver Twist, sir. Oliver Twist always, we will still want more. Yes, to the best of the ability of the government, they have done some trainings. At least it is, they have opened my eyes. Apart from my engineering background, I have gone through some trainings that has made me to be in front of you today, and so that we can rub minds together. So, but we still want more, because there are a lot of things that are happening. So we need to move with the rate at which it is going. And talking about the information technology, if you look at the head of service now, Dr. Folashade Yemi-Eson, the Folashade Yemi-Eson, what she has been able to do, I think in civil service now, if you are not IT competent, if you are not a global, is trying to make civil service a global world now. It is the era of paper documentation is beginning to go offline now. If you look at it, if I'm not mistaken, the compulsory exam, compo exam, I think it is a digital now. So it's showing that it is beginning to, the type of thing that we're having in terms of innovation, in terms of advancement, is beginning to come into play. Now, thank you very much. I hope I've been able to answer some of your questions. Your staff strength, I couldn't get you very well. Maybe you could revisit that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Engineer Kabiru Kosoko, for the response to the question of Mr. Francis. So although we have some other questions on the chat box, but before then, I would like to call my Oga to ask his question, to kindly unmute Mr. Alfred Ajao, to kindly unmute himself and ask the question he wants to ask. Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you so much, Waliu, for bringing this and for your continuous efforts to ensure that this keep running. So the guest, Engineer Kosoko, a very fantastic presentation. Has been so enlightening. So my question to some of us that are very familiar with this Act of the 2004, I have a bit of challenge with that document not being made available publicly. As I'm talking now, I deliberately check again the website of the Federal Ministry of Labor. You can get a lot of regulations, some of the regulations you have mentioned, the diving at work, boiler, and the rest. You will see them on your site. But unfortunately, the Factory Act of the 2004 cannot be found on your site. And interestingly, even if you do a little search that you want to just look for the Nigerian Factory Act 2004, you are not likely to get the recent one online. So I don't know why that is like that. I don't want to start comparing with other countries, but this is our home, and I think we need to fix that. So I think it's a good one if that can be on your website also. You mentioned about there is a review about the Factory Act going on, and also I'm aware that that review has been on since October 2021. This is October 2022. How far has the review gone? My third question, or maybe observation, is about staff competency, like what the earlier man that has questioned. I'm a bit worried. Why am I worried is that I've been, in the line of my duty, I've interacted with some of the staffs from the labor, especially the OSH department. And I discovered that some of them don't have the competency, and it becomes a challenge for some of us.
Especially what, sir?
Especially people from the department of the OSH department, the factory inspectors. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I'm aware that I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago, some recruitment was done. And I know a couple of them that even the basic HSC level 1, level 2, level 3, they don't know. I don't know. I'm sure that I want to assume the way you are talking, you have been in this field for some years. You have the opportunity to be trained by the government. But some of these ones, I can tell you for free, sir, they are not trained because I'm also outside there. So when they come on site, at times, some of us that are consultants, we expect them to take some steps. We expect them to say some things that we have tried to even make our clients to know that this is what they are supposed to do. But when these people come on site, you discover that, oh, their competency level is even questionable, because what you are seeing, what you are trying to even talk to your clients to do, they are not even talking in that direction. Maybe probably because of the brown envelope, or as the case may be. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Fred Ajao, for the question. So, Mr. Kabir Kusoko, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, the moderator. Mr. Ajao, thank you very much. I really appreciate you for your question, for your sincerity. I'm hearing this for the first time about Factories Act not on our site. No problem. I'm going to share one with you. Personally, I have it here. I'm going to do that, but I don't know why it's not there. But I have not, of course, I have not done that. I've not done that to really ascertain what you mean by, because we have the diving at art, the boiler, and the pressure vessel regulation that you have just said. But I will do a check on that. Or I might even send to Mr. Waliu so that I can share. That's that.
Thank you so much. You can check. It's not there.
Okay, sir. Review of the Factories Act. Thank you very much. I understand because of the bureaucracy. Even though Mr. Waliu, between you and I, Mr. Waliu, as a government person, thank you. Thank you for the commendation. Even though this is not my first place of work, I have gathered at least 17 years working experience now, not in labor, no. I have gone to private, and work has taken me, most of my time, of my years have been in the private sector, most of them. So, but then, when you talk about the review, because of what they do in the private is quite different from what they do in the government sector. The bureaucracy, yes, I believe in no time it will be out. I'm too sure of that. But I think that because I'm an insider, there are some documents that I might not be able to share with you here because I'm an insider, and I be rest assured that this review, we are even waiting for the review. I'm waiting for the review because of my experience. I'm waiting for the review because I want to do more for what I am doing. I'm waiting for the review because I want to, for my own development as well, so that let me learn new things, let me learn more. So competency of the factory inspector, knowledge, they say, is tasking. You need to, always in life, it is not only in government sector, or whether, I don't know people that you have met, I don't know whether you reside in Lagos or you reside in Esria, but I know most of the OSH people in my own department, they are up to date. we understand what we are doing, but because of the fact that I don't know when, I would have loved to visit or to know you more better, so that this is a constructive criticism. I love constructive criticism when it's not, I love it when it's not destructive. I want it so that it can make someone more better. Do you understand? At least with your own assessment, I am representing the factory inspectors. You can assess me from what I've just done here. At least you know what's going to do that. When you do that, the answer, you know it yourself. So I will not. When I say is, I said Oliver Twist. They want more. We want more. It's not as if we are not trained. A lot of us have gotten our training even before we got to government sector. We have gotten. I'm sorry. I remember my last certification was even well before I entered the Federal Ministry of Labor. So it shows that I have passion for what I do, which most of us also have passion for. I have passion for what I do, and we have also many of them they have. But when you say they are not, no, I want to disagree with you on that. That maybe those people that you've been able to interact with, and I don't know your own parameters that you use, so I won't be able to talk much about that. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sorry, please, Mutar. My belief is that either you are in Lagos, you are in Abuja, you are in Sokoto, you are in Katsina, you are in Jigawa, you are in Osun State, the competency level should cut across. It does not mean that it has to be Lagos alone or those in Abuja. That's my view about it.
I am not saying, Mr. Ajao, I'm not saying because Lagos person is good or is better than. No, that's not what I said. I said people that I am working here. Yes, our headquarters is in Abuja. I'm transferred to Lagos to work here, of course. And since I've been working here, I know what I've met. I know. So I can only talk of people that are around me, people that I've interacted with, even from other states. So that's why I say, okay, I don't know those people that you met. I don't know them, but we can do offline thing. Maybe that will help so much. Thank you very much, sir, Mr. Jao. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Alfred Ajao, for the question asked. And thank you so much, Engineer Kabir Kosoko, for the response. And also, I would like to bring on board Mr. Femi Yusuf. But Mr. Femi Yusuf, please, you have to be fast because we've elapsed the time we ought to be on this webinar call. And I know several of us have other things to do, especially our Muslim brothers that will need to pray. So please, Mr. Femi Yusuf, so you can kindly unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Confirm if you can hear me.
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Engineer Kosoko, for that presentation. Mine is just for me to, I want to understand that, is there any other provision to look at the safety of the community? I see that the Act focuses on the safety of the workers of a factory. Is there any provision or other institution looking at the welfare or the safety of the community vis-a-vis the suitability of the approved location of the factory, considering their activities and what they emit? And also alongside that line, I see in your summary slides that part of what you also look at is the environmental impact of the factory. So how do you interface with the...
Can you speak louder? I can't hear you, please.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
So I want to know that what provision is there in the Act, or is there another institution that is looking at the safety of the community? That is the community hosting the factory. If there's any approval that is done for a factory to be located in a particular area, considering the impact that it will have on the community around. And also in that line, also the environmental impact, the effluent, the waste, what they emit from the factory. How does your activities interface with that of Ministry of Environment to make sure that the effluent and all those things does not have impact on the environment? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yusuf. If I get your question very well, the safety of the workers and the host environment. Fortunately for me, I have worked with the Ministry of Environment before, Federal Ministry of Environment. So there's something we call EIA, Environmental Impact Assessment of what factory you want to site in a place. They will do that. They do EAR, Environmental Audit Report as well for the continuation of it. And again, in all the acts, in what I have been able to explain, if you look at our act very well, what our act is talking about is basically talking about the man-machine relationship, talking about the welfare of the workers, talking about the ergonomics, talking about a lot of things. The environment aspect of it is with the Federal Ministry of the Environment, like I've just said. So they do pollution, even pollution control, effluent, whether, in fact, that is when I was in Ministry of Environment, I was in the pollution control department. So of course, I understand effluent treatment plant, ETP, very well. And I understand that there is a standard at which, and on this level, I'm not within the scope to talk about their own standard because I am talking for Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Engineer Kabir Kosoko. So just to quickly go through the questions on the chat box. People are asking if you are going to share us your slide. So are you going to make your slide available for us to share?
I will discuss that with Mr. Wale, please.
Okay, thank you so much. And also from Mr. Emmanuel Fatokun, he said, please, how do we address the inspectors when they visit our companies and we are not producing anything, but we render services at client's location? Do such companies, in brackets, in oil and gas, still need registration with Ministry of Labor and Employment? What he's trying to say is, if I get him clear, is that since they are not into production, that they don't have a factory, that they are just a client to probably an oil and gas company, do they really need to register under Ministry of Labor and Employment?
If you look at the Section 87 of the Factories Act, it is well stated there what factory is all about. Do you understand? And then that one that he's talking about has been excluded. The oil and gas of a thing, if it is, for example, the OVH, they are always with us. Because when you find that you have a like MRS with us, MRS, or most of the oil companies, oil servicing companies are with us. But in where they do a third class or a third level or a third person contracting, I really want to know, maybe this person can shout me so that I won't give him a wrong answer.
Okay, so Mr. Emmanuel Fatokun, so I think probably you'll have to reach out to Mr. Kabir Kosoko, search for him on his LinkedIn. Hopefully with that, you will be able to connect with him for more clarity on your question. So also another question goes that by Engineer Tiamiyu. Well done, sir, for the wonderful presentation. My questions are, under which act can we categorize a company of less than 10 workers? That's question number one. Question number two, at what number of workers can a company provide first aid box and PPE for the workforce? Question number three, up the slide. Okay, that one has been addressed already. Question number three has been addressed already. So the question number one says, under which act can we categorize a company of less than 10 workers?
A company of less than 10 workers doing what, sir? Or ma'am?
So I don't know, he did not specify. So I don't know if Engineer Tiamiyu can unmute himself and ask and answer that.
Hello, sir. Engineer Kosoko.
Engineer.
Hi, Engineer Tiamiyu. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. There are some companies, because I'm fortunate to train some of the workers in some of the companies less than 10 workers. And I noticed that they are Normally, they are not a main factory company. They are a company that produces some nylon, but with the lesser machine in their factory. Hello?
I'm listening.
They are, because they have a minimum number of workers less than 10, and I noticed that there is no first aid box. Even with the way they even arrange a particular machine is uncalled for. But because I'm not from the Ministry of Labor, I was just called upon to come and train them on safety aspect of their job, most especially using fire extinguishers and some other things to be done. So I was now wondering, because I noticed that there's no first aid box. Some of them are putting non-tattered clothes. That is the reason why I want to get that. Is there any other which, because that they call the same mini entrepreneurship, in which they're having one or two machines using their own factory without proper consideration? That is it, sir.
Thank you very much. A machine producing, a factory producing a machine is a factory. That is number one. Irrespective of, I said, it can be one. It can be one person. Most of the automation, you know, we have a lot of machines that are well automated. There are some mini automation. We have fully automated machines. The semi-automated machine, you might not even see more than 2 people. That is the disadvantage of technology when it comes to that. Advantage to everything that has advantage, there must be what it is advantage as well. So it is now for you again to tell them, even if they are less than 10, they must, it is expected. That is what section 43 of the Factories Act says, that it must be expected that they must, because it is a factory, it is a machine that they are using. So if it is a machine that we are using, so when accident is going to occur, it won't going to tell anybody. So it is, most of them will tell you, no, I'm just 1 or 2 people. But I don't know the factory. I don't know if you can share the name of the factory with me, but if you cannot, but what I can just tell you is that they need to have are you also, sir, as a safety person, they will tell you what they like. It is now you that use your own experience and your own knowledge to tell them what is right. Thank you very much, Engineer Tiami.
And also, in addition to your question, to the question he asked, I would like to make you know that, Engineer Tiami, even though it is only 1 worker, first aid box and the enforcement of PPE is very compulsory, because
yes,
whether you are 1, whether you are 2, that doesn't say you are not prone to injury. And as we all know, first aid box is just what you will need to use for first medical attention before the person is being transferred to the hospital. If the injury is more than what a first aider
can be contained manage in the factory. So, yes.
And so due to that, first aid box is mandatory. Even Federal Road Safety Corps, they mandate first aid box to even be inside our car. So for first aid box to be in our car, so there's no reason why first aid box shouldn't even be in our homes, come to talk of an industry. So that's about that. So also there's the question here by I don't know if it is Mr. or Miss Elvis Gana said, someone said the company frequently pollutes the environment from its effluent treatment plant, but also always keep regulatory officials off their back with brown envelope. So people's health is at risk. How do you respond as a government person? Now, I don't know, based on what you said, what he's trying to say is that probably a company in their vicinity releases effluent.
I get you. Let me explain that. Let me explain that. I mentioned something to you. I say, I don't know the location that we are talking. If a company is releasing effluent into the environment, it is for you to go to Federal Ministry of Employment, Federal Ministry of Environment. They have the power when it has to do with effluent.
Because I think he's saying that they are going there, but the company is using brown envelope to take charge or take control of the regulatory officials. So as a government person, what can you do? Because people's life are at risk in that environment.
You see, as a government person, like I've told you, according to what this person thinks, they have been compromised. They have been compromised. So if they have been compromised, definitely it has to be external. If it has to be external, it means that those things, you get your fact right. What are your facts? Get your video. get video of that effluent, get someone that can test the effluent, the discharge, at the discharge point, get the person. Because let me explain to you, if an effluent is disturbing you, maybe where I'm staying is a company. Beside me, there is a company. There is a population. Population coming through the one company to another, or through one industrial place to a residential place. You cannot, because of that. That is not an effluent because it has not been discharged to the public. It is because of the systemic failure that has made that to happen. Are you getting what I'm saying? It is only when you look at your effluent plan and you just mention it. If they have effluent treatment plan, definitely you need to take the sample of that thing at the court where the water or where the effluent is being taken into, is being discharged into the environment, and you took the proper analysis. So that's what I can explain to you on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for that response. I think this will be the last question on the platform, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I think we have 2 more questions on the platform to go. What measures is put in place by the government through your ministry to eradicate casual? Okay, what measures is being put in place by the government through your ministry to eradicate casual or contract employment in Nigeria? Question by Mr. or Ms. Iboro Umana.
Yes, thank you very much, Mrs. Ubara. In my analysis, when I started with scope. I know government, the eradication, there is a big fight on the eradication of the contract staff or casual workers. We don't want that, but I'm sorry, in this capacity, a labor officer, like I explained to you at the beginning, a labor officer will say much. I know anything I say here is not, I'm not an authority when it comes to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So, and finally, which is the last one. So I think some factories are located in residential areas and the emission noise pollution. I think you've answered this one already. So let me ask my own question before we call it to an end. So why is it that the factory acts that we are talking about have limitations to some industries? Because now looking at it, we were talking about there was some exclusion of mining, agriculture, construction sectors, banking sectors. And looking at this that we are talking about, these people also have staffs under them. And in terms of the occupational health and safety, well-being, welfare, and all the necessary OHS requirement that is needed for the well-being of the staff, I think these people don't meet up with it. So why are they being excluded from the Factory Act?
Thank you very much, ma'am. I said the other time, when you have a particular organization or a particular regulatory organization that is taking care of a particular law, so that is why you see a lot of, and in the UP, it is even stated that if you exempt a particular company or a particular sector and they are not doing it well, so they can take over. The Ministry of Labor can also take over. When you take mining out of it, wharves and all the rest like that, there are some of them, they are part of it that are within our own our Factories Act. There are some of them that are excluding. For example, the discharge now, blending of oil is still in oil industry. Blending of oil, OVH and all the rest, we do it, but we can't do. There are some you can't do their offshore. They are onshore, we can do it. There are some of them we cannot do. So even when it comes to mining, there's another law that even governs that. So we don't want an overlap. Government just don't want an overlap of duty. We want it to be done by two persons. What NESRA would do on national regulatory standard. Do you understand? So regulatory standard, what NOSDRIA? There's another one called NOSDRIA, National Oil Spillage Detection and NOSDRIA. Like also in Federal Ministry of Environment. So they have specific way, specific rule that they have. So that is why we are removing some and we have adding some. So it is not those ones that we are removing. We are not removing them in entirety. No, we are not removing them in entirety. But what we do mostly is just about processes. So thank you, ma. I hope I've been able to.
Yeah, thank you so much for the enlightening section once again, sir. And thanks for creating time out of your busy schedule to enlighten us, because we know tomorrow is even a Monday. There's a lot of preparation you need to do for work tomorrow. So thank you so much.
I have a lot of files on my email.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I want to vet
Yeah,
some
so
files.
for all those people who has been asking if the file will be sent to us, the slide will be sent to us. So Mr. Waliola is going to reach out to Mr. Engineer Kosoko for the needful. So Engineer Kosoko, how can we connect with you on LinkedIn? Because some people are asking for that. How can we connect with you on LinkedIn? So what's your name on LinkedIn for us to search?
Search my name, I'm there.
Okay. Just Kabir Kosoko, right?
Kolawole Kosoko, you definitely get me, definitely.
Okay, Kolawole Kosoko.
Kabir Kolawole Kosoko.
Okay, thank you so much. So for those asking for Engineer Kabir's LinkedIn username, so his name is Kolawole Kosoko Kabir. So I also recognize the presence of a lot of top stars leaders that are on the call. Engineer Alfred Ajao, Engineer Shigoze Uzodima, Abano Misaka, Shituru Wogu, and Sylvester Aziegbe. So my Oga at the top, my beloved friend, my colleague, is already back. So that's Mr. Waliu Adegoke. So he would take us through the closing remarks. Yeah, the Baba baby, the latest daddy in town.
We are coming tomorrow.
You're all welcome. We are expecting every one of you. You're all welcome. So, Mr. Waliula Adegoke, you have the floor.
No problem. We can take canoe, we can take train and helicopter and everything that you need to come down. And Juju, you can come down. You're all welcome. Is that means All right. Thanks so much, Abdulhakim. I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for coordinating this section. We actually needed to undo so many things for planning for tomorrow. So, but I was listening. It was an interesting section, very interesting, very educating section. We've gotten a lot of feedback. For those that still want to watch, maybe they missed some moments during the class. It's already available on YouTube. So just go to our YouTube channel. Watch, share the link across. We'll also send the link across for the materials. We will discuss with the facilitator if the materials will be available, because I used to say the materials are intellectual property. So some might decide to share, some might decide not to share. Some might take it from their slides that they use as for training, for paid trainings, and just take some parts of it. So they might not want to share. So depending on the person's will, then we'll communicate across to you. We'll share it to all groups. We'll send a link to our drive and send a link across to us for everyone who needs the material. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for your time. Thank you all for being part of this. Next week again, we will try as much as possible to continue this section. Another section may be similar to this, but I believe that this was very enlightening and educating. I also had my own questions, but because of time, we will save those questions for another day. We will still have another session.
You can ask me offline.
Okay, no problem.
Okay,
Thanks so much, everyone.
People have been chatting me up on LinkedIn. Yeah, on LinkedIn, they have been chatting me up here.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, our program is also an avenue for us to also connect and know ourselves better and do things together. We really appreciate that. Thank you all, everyone. You can also follow him on LinkedIn. You can see his name very clear, KKK, Kabir Kosoko. The other key, Mr. Kolawole, I think I'm correct. So, Engineer Kolawole. So please kindly follow him on LinkedIn and let us connect together. And remember, this was fully sponsored by Further Safety Consult. We are into health and safety trainings, we are into management trainings, and we are into general safety consultancy. Anything that has to do with safety and management trainings, you can always call up to us any day, anytime. Thank you all for being part of this. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for taking your time to share, to use your data, your time, your energy, your money to be part of this. See you all again next week, Sunday. Bye-bye. I'm still online, Joe.